Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I am Candy Barone, and I am super thrilled to have you join us because I am beyond excited for my guest who's joining me in the ring today. Maria Ray is one of my dearest friends. I love her energy. You are going to feel that. So before we even get started, let me just shout out and welcome the beautiful and talented Maria Ray joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Candy. I love you. I just want everyone to know that you are the most stand-up, beautiful person inside and out. Truly love you.
I love you. We're going to have a big love fest. I'm just warning all of you right now because as you know, this is our space to really go deep. We're going to we're going to play together. We're going to see what happens. We're going to roll with the punches and we're going to have a big conversation around what it means to show up as a leader today and really redefine that space, really have some courageous conversations about whatever might come up in our discussion. And so want you to remember that it's really an opportunity for us to know that leadership is a choice. It's a choice in how we choose to show up. It's a choice in how we choose to serve. And it's a choice in how we take personal responsibility inside those two spaces. And so before we delve in, before we go a few rounds, and I know, knowing Maria so well, we are going to play, we're going to have fun, and we are going to go rounds. Let me tell you a little bit about this amazing powerhouse who is gracing us with her presence today and her brilliance. Maria Ray is a marketing and relationship expert. She is the founder and CEO of My Media and Publishing Group and the creator and publisher of My Authentic Life magazine, which for those of you that have not checked that magazine out, you need to subscribe. It is a beautiful, beautiful, powerful magazine highlighting global thought leaders around the world. Maria's magazine is just absolutely top-notch. She is also a transformational keynote speaker. Her vision is to create a universe that models integrity, cultivates creativity, and embraces uniqueness. I'm telling you, this is my girl. Together, we create a world where everyone has a sense of purpose, lives their passion, and celebrates community by empowering others to live their best life. Maria does this by teaching aspiring entrepreneurs how to build their own publishing company, by teaching them to design their own magazine, creating awareness around their vision and mission, making this very profitable business venture. I mean, how exciting is that? How many of you right now are like, ooh, I never thought about creating my own magazine and creating a bigger platform to get my message out? I know already I'm going to be like, ooh, I think I got some seeds planted. Maria also builds partnerships with organizations, foundations, and nonprofits and teaches them how to create their own magazine to generate awareness and increase revenue for the organization, foundation, or the nonprofit. In creating this unique marketing tool, one that taps into the heart of its readers, also creates awareness around the vision of each organization. In doing this, she causes a ripple effect, generating increased sponsorships, donations, and volunteers. Talk about amazing work. And I love, and we're going to jump in right there. And again, I just want to say welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Just wonderful.
I love that you talk about helping them tap into the heart of their vision and their business. So talk a little bit about how you do that, how you actually engage with these organizations or these nonprofits and you get them into a heart-centered space to think about taking their vision in a much broader and bigger platform.
No, I think the biggest challenge that people have today is really the marketing end, right? There are so many incredible foundations, organizations, nonprofits out there, but the biggest thing is getting their message out. And with a magazine, they're able to do that in a way that touches the hearts of its readers. So if you take a child with cancer, for example, and you tell about the story of their family, and how this child has survived and thrived and what the family has gone through. Boy, that just really touches the heart of people reading it, and therefore they're going to want to support you.
Yeah.
Because they know the good work that you're doing. And, I know that there's a gentleman who goes over to, oh my gosh, all of a sudden just left me, another country, and brings animals, China, I believe, and brings animals that are destitute there, back here, fixes them and makes them healthy and adopts them out. I mean, who doesn't want to know about that? Who doesn't want to read about that? And who doesn't want to support that?
Well, and especially right now, I mean, and I have chills actually thinking about this, and I have seen your publication, and I read it every time it comes out, and it's beautiful, the stories that are shared and expressed, and, there is such a power in storytelling. And it's interesting because even my photographer talks about that when she talks about stop just going for headshots, really tell your story through the pictures that you're creating. And so as you think about the power of storytelling and the fact that everything you focus on is in this very open, really heartfelt, experiential space where people can feel deeply connected. Why is that so important when everything that we see on the majority is this very negative, very biased, very heavy slant? How do you play in that space knowing that that's where most people's focus is at? How do you balance that out?
So that's really interesting that you asked that question, because that was actually the reason I started my own publication. It was 2009 in the Detroit area where, that was the hardest hit by the economy first.
Right.
Every time you turned on the news, much like today, it's very, very negative, right? And so I thought, I'm done with this. I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to create a publication that targets women, because it's going to be a local publication, and businesses are all targeting women right now, and just do articles that make people feel good, that want to pick it up, that are, really excited to be a part of this publication because it makes them feel great. So I did empowered, inspired people. I since sold that magazine, and now I help others to start their own local magazine in their local communities, doing the exact same thing, supporting the communities, empowering and inspiring their communities in a way that nobody else can. Tell the stories of these amazing people in your community that people want to know about. And it can't help but be successful, when you do something like that. So that was the whole reason I started a publication in the first place, was because of all the negativity around the world. And if I can tap into each community, then I'm helping on a larger scale. And so I help others to start their own in their local communities as well.
That's so beautiful. I mean, everything about that's beautiful. And it's one of the reasons I love your spirit so much, because there is just this essence and aura around you that's around really building that community and highlighting and opening that up for people. And so I'm curious, as you've had this experience, because there's people that may look at entertaining, either, being part of a magazine or creating their own magazine, but to go out and teach others to do this as well. What has been one of the maybe biggest surprises or biggest blessings that was just one of those things you're like, I never would have thought it would have went there, by being able to help someone else open that up, where you've seen either massive change or massive ways people are connecting? What's one of those stories? Because this is a space that just lights me up. I love hearing this stuff, right? And so I would love to hear one of those stories that was one of those that you're like, yeah, this is why I do what I do, because I would have never in a million years imagined it would have went there.
So it's really my story that is so cool, because I never would have thought 10 years ago I was going to do this, ever. I just wanted to help my community, and I just wanted to empower people. And, I wake up every single day and I say, how can I reach more people? How can I empower and inspire more people? And so this kind of morphed for me into just helping people to help others. So now I help people to help people. Right? People who have the same aspirations of changing the world or making the world a better place is what I do. I love that. So, my online magazine is all about, empowering and inspiring others, which you can't beat that. And I don't care what kind of magazine people want to have, whether it be, a food magazine or a women's publication or a fitness magazine, or a magazine for their foundation or their organization or their nonprofit. It's all about making the world a better place and inspiring others. And if I can help them, I'm helping so many more, because they're helping their communities. And I love that. That feeds my soul every single day. to be able to do that.
And I love that, because we talk about how do you feed the soul of business? How do you feed the soul of, and you know, it always starts with feeding your own soul first. And it's that space of, because think about that. I want all of you listening right now to imagine right now. Imagine if you woke up with that same, and I do know Maria, and I know her. This is who she is. This is how she shows up. And she's just this very enthusiastic, very wide open, very just loving individual who truly every day shows up with this light, this grace, and this way that she serves. Imagine if you woke up every day knowing that you were creating this one-to-many model where you could affect the lives of real people by creating stories and messages that inspire them, that help them feel empowered, rather than constantly connecting into the space. And it's interesting because one of the things that I've talked about, and I do this a lot in my trainings, is I really showcase where we've gone as a culture around, we've gotten into a place that's really around complain and commiserate instead of connect and communicate. And honestly, think about how most of our conversations are right now. They're, oh, let me tell you how busy I am. Oh, I've got 4,000 plates I'm spinning and you have no idea. My life sucks so much and there's this going on and I have this pressure and I'm all stressed. And then whoever they're engaging, and I'm going to use that word lightly, in conversation with, immediately says, oh, please, girl, you think you got it bad? Let me tell you how bad my life sucks. And we've created this culture where our entire way to engage with each other has been who can outsuck who.
Right. So
instead of what Maria's talking about, which is a space of really connecting and communicating in a heart-centered space. And I know you were just about to say something, so please.
Well, I think judgment is a big word here. You know, I think that judgment is a huge word in our society today, where people are judging all over the place. You know, they feel they can't help it, and it's all based in fear, right? So I talk about that. I talk about how judgment really is just fear or lack of love, or it's really about our own self. It's not about everybody else. It's our fears that we are projecting on everybody else.
Yeah. So
if we can stop that somehow and wish everybody well, it would go a long way.
Well, it would, and I love the word judgment. I want to focus on this for a minute, because this is where it's going to get really meaty really fast. Because I agree with the fact that we hold ourselves in a place of judgment, which is that absence of love, and it's very much a exasperated space of fear. Whereas I want to create a differentiator that we all judge. We all have a moment of creating a filter and assessment. It's a very human nature to see somebody and have an initial opinion, a thought, a judging, but it's that space of judgment that we allow ourselves to sit in, which is most damaging. Because it's just like we can't really control our thoughts. What we do is control how we choose to participate or how we react to them. Same with that initial observation or judgment space that we have. It's to say, oh, I see that person, and we initially have a thought. We get to decide, do we want to hold that thought and stay in that space, which is what Maria's talking about, is that space of judgment where we hold that, we create biases, we create assumptions, we create this whole space of entitlement, in my opinion, instead of saying, wow, okay, where's that coming from? Is that my stuff projected back at me? Is there something I'm triggering on? Because a lot of times that space to judge is just a reflection. Actually, it's almost always a reflection of wherever you are at. And I love that I heard a mentor once say, and I've said this multiple times on the show, everyone's going to judge you. It's human to have that instant thought. And they're not giving you half the amount of time they think they are, because it's immediately about them. If the judgment came from a projection of them, then the space where they hold on to the judgment is about them. So if you realize that, you stand in a space to say, well, if people are going to judge anyway, I'm going to stand in a space that's wide open. And then to go to where, you know, Brene Brown will say, if you imagine that every person is coming from the best place they can, with the best they have to offer in that moment, we then elevate that initial observation into a place of kindness, love, compassion, grace, to say that behavior might not be what they intended to do. It was them coming from the best place they could, and maybe they're spinning in their own fear or something around that. And so that space of judgment is a choice you're making. It's that space when we go to talk about leadership, and you have a responsibility to say, is that coming from fear, or am I going to open up access to be more loving, to be more kind, to be more compassionate? And so I'd love your take on that. I'd love to hear your thoughts around judgment and where our responsibility and where our opportunities are.
So I think that the judgment starts with yourself, right? I think that so many of us have self-judgment. We're not good enough. We don't like the way we look. We're heavy. We're whatever it is. And then it projects onto others, right? So I want to can I tell you a quick story?
Oh, please do.
So I grew up, I grew up like a lot of people did. I had a wonderful, loving mother, but I had an alcoholic, abusive father. Yeah. So you learn a lot, right, along the way on how you don't want to be in, but it doesn't do a lot for your self-esteem. It doesn't do a lot. So there's a lot of self-judgment around the way that I grew up. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you a story. When I was 27 years old, I had 3 children. And I went to a therapist at that time to kind of work on some of my stuff. And she said, Maria, I want to send you to a codependency treatment program. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know that was like a thing, right? You want to what? You want to send me to a 60 what? So, I went because I felt like I was working on myself, working on, being a better person. And I did go, but I will tell you, this is a true story. And it was really super difficult. And I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to this as far as that self-judgment piece. So we were in a therapy session, and we were there to talk about our stuff, to just kind of get really real about where we were and what we were doing. And as I listened to all these people around me, I got more and more in my head going, they haven't lived a life like I have. They have no idea what I've experienced. I'm not going to tell them my stuff. This is my stuff, right? I don't want anybody to laugh. I don't want anybody to place judgment on me. And so as it's going around the room, in my head, I'm getting like more and more confident about what I'm not going to say. Right? So it comes to me. And the woman says to me, so Maria, tell us one of your life stories that really has affected you and how we can help you with that, or what, And I just looked at her and I'm like, oh, we all have our stuff, right? We all have our stuff. We all have to deal with it. I dealt with it the best I can. I'm good, right? Wrong thing to say. Let me tell you, that was not the right thing to say. She stood up. She walked over to me. She took my hand and she walked me to the other side of the room. She stood me in front of this mirror, this full-length mirror. And she said, Maria, all you have to do is look at that person in the mirror and say, I love you, and we'll go back to the group and sit down.
Hardest thing in the world to do at that point.
I looked at her. I looked in that mirror. I looked at her again, and she said, all you have to do is tell that person in the mirror that you love her, and we will go back and sit down. Tears started coming down. I looked at myself in the mirror. I shook my head. I looked at her, and she said, all you have to do is say, I love you, and we'll go back and sit down. And I literally at that moment fell to the floor sobbing. Mm-hmm. There was so much self-judgment at what I had been through, who I was, what I experienced in my life, that I couldn't do it. Right. And she picked me up and she said, now we're getting somewhere. Let's go sit down. And I think that resonates with a lot of people listening right now.
Well, and it does. And it's interesting that you say that. And we're going to actually introduce that right now because it's a perfect opportunity to invite people to join you in that process. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that whenever I do a 3-day event or I do anything around that, it's one of the invitations I give, especially after we talk about destroying the noise and getting into all the fear of judgment and criticism. And most of that does start with ourselves. And I, especially for women, but those of you men listening right now, I'm going to invite you to do the same thing. Most people are, when you ask them, I want you to look in the mirror when it's first thing in the morning, when you don't have the makeup on, your hair is all crazy and you still got the circles breaking up. And at the end of the day, when you've taken the makeup off, or for those of you men that have had the stress day and you're just like, you can see it, you just look tired, I invite you to look in the mirror and do exactly what Maria is talking about. And for most of you, you're like, oh, I look at myself in the mirror all the time. No, you don't. You look at where your eyebrow is. You look at where your eye is. If you're putting
imperfections.
on, you know where to brush your teeth. Yes, you either focus on imperfections or you've got a hazy filter that you know where the shape of things are so that you're not really even looking at your features, at your face. And so what I want you all to do is that very exercise is to look in the mirror, make eye contact with yourself, and look at yourself as if you were a young child. And I want you to say your name. So I would say, Candy, I love you. You are beautiful. Whatever the words are, I say you are a powerful child of God. You are this, and I look at that person in the mirror. And here's the part that even gets more challenging, I think, than that initial I love you, is that once you say I love you and close with I love you and really look at yourself, is to sit there and hold your gaze for 5 seconds. Because it's that space of not talking where all you're doing is seeing yourself from a place of love. And 5 seconds may sound like it's nothing, but if you've never, to Maria's point, if you have never done that exercise before, that 5 seconds will feel like eternity.
And I would also add, because I do this every single day.
So do I. Every morning,
every day,
and every night, because it is very much to stand in the place we do as thought leaders.
Yes.
You have to start from a place where you love yourself first.
And I would also add, pick your affirmations. I am beautiful. Yes. I am successful. I am, whatever that I am
is. Ones that speak to you that are not just affirmations for the sake of affirmations.
Right. That you can truly hold on to because I am a great person. I am successful. I am. And just say those things out loud to yourself.
Well, and take it another level, because we're just going to keep leveling it up. I have a bright pink 4x6 index card on my mirror. First of all, there's $1 million check that's up there.
Yes.
And I can see it whether I come out of the shower, whether I'm on the, coming in the bathroom, going out of the bathroom, changing, whatever. I have it so that when I brush my teeth, there are 10 things that say I am. And they are my I am statements that after I do these self-love, it is right there. I read them. I connect to them. I have gratitude for them, but I see them every time I go in my bathroom.
It's funny, on a sticky note on your mirror.
I do a big, bright 4x6 index card that I taped up there. It's fluorescent pink. I cannot miss it. But create those ways, those trigger points that are going to help you remind yourself that you are worthy. Because the space of judgment we're talking about comes from shame. It comes from that space of not feeling like you're enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough. Or that space on I can't provide enough. And when you acknowledge you are enough as you are, and you start to put yourself in a space to have that real sense of self-love, that's when you can really affect change and allow that love to go out to everyone else. And it's filling that cup first, right?
And holding on to that fear in your body, it hurts your body. It hurts your joints. It hurts everything. And when you let that down and you release that fear of how you're looking or what you're doing, or if you're insecure about anything, when you release that, you will feel that release within your body. It is amazing not to hold that.
Yeah, your body's a truth teller. So for some of you, they're like, oh, I'm good. I got this. I'm like really confident. I want you to ask yourself, is the lower back hurting? Is your knee hurting? Is you getting this pain in your chest, which is where I get it a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You get that like doubled over sometimes pinch in like your lower abdomen area. That's because your body's like, BS, I'm calling you out. You're not standing in a place of integrity that says, I believe this. Because to Maria's point, most of our physical ailments are a physiological effect of the stress, the belief, the thoughts, the anxiety, the crap we're holding on to, that fear. Because when you're in a space of true self-love, there's very little your body takes on in resistance, and it's wide open, and it's when you feel really energetic. It's when you easily, are like, man, I'm feeling like I'm in the best version of myself, and my body's like on fire, and I feel trim, and I feel alignment. It's so easy when you let go of all those anchors and that fear and that stuff.
So the thing that I've just started doing probably in the last year that has really been effective for me as well is, before I get out of bed every day, I say, God, please help me to see me as you do.
Oh, I love that.
Because then, because if you can see yourself the way God sees you, or, your higher self, or whatever you want to call it, something bigger than yourself, then you start to see yourself that way. And it's a very pure way. It's not an arrogant way.
No.
It's a very, very pure way. And then you start to feel better about it, and the confidence comes. Mm-hmm. So it's really a cool thing. When you.
I love that, starting your day, because
I do every day.
A lot of talk about your bookends, setting intention for the day. And so it's the morning intention, the evening reflection, and to start your day to ask, how can I be in the best version of you, and help me see me as you see me? Because when you realize, and regardless of what you believe in the universe, God, spirit, Tao, Buddha, just a higher self, we all come from something that is of this perfection, of this integrity, full, just love space, that when you say, help me stand in that and be a piece of that. I love Wayne Dyer always talks about, if you have an apple pie and you take a piece out, you still have an apple pie. And so we get to, and it's not from an arrogant place, because the other thing I would offer is, if you open your day to say, help me see you as you see me, then I want you to close your day on some of those reflection questions that we've talked about, that the very last thing that you ask yourself as you drift to sleep is, what's the one thing I love most about me today? So that you go to sleep.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
You wake up with intention to say, help me see myself as you see me. God, universe, Tao, spirit, help me be that space of love. Help me be a mirror of who you are, however you say that, so that you set your day up to show up and serve in the best way possible. And then close your day at the end of the day and say, so when I reflect over this past day, what's one thing I love most about me today? Because that's going to fuel you into a place of gratitude and a place of self-love. And imagine the kind of dreams and the magic and the thing that happens. Because now you've released whatever got ugly through the day, whatever, there's always something to love about it.
And it doesn't have to be big. You can start very small. It's just something.
Right. And I have things that where some days it'll be, I love my smile. I love that it lights up a room when someone walks in, and I'll say that. Other days I'm like, man, I love the gifts I've been given because today I helped that person do X. Or I'll even say on a tough day, man, I love that I actually showed up. I love that I didn't pull the covers back over my head. I love that I chose to show up today. Whatever it is, it could be small. I love the fact that my fingernails grew today. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Or I love the fact that I was able to relax for 5 minutes.
Right. Right. Or I love that I actually breathed in some fresh air from the outside today.
Yes. Anything.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I love that I had a good hair day today. I don't care what it is. Hey, because sometimes you got to celebrate that, right? Right. I love that I just rocked out a hair day today. It's whatever. You be surprised because you can have fun with it. We're so serious all the time, and that judgment just keeps compounding and piling, and man, we are burying ourselves.
And if you can remember and try to be aware of the judgments that you do during the day. So if you're judging someone else, just think, why am I judging that person? What is it about me that I don't like that causes me to do that? Yeah. And once you become aware, it starts to stop.
Yeah, there's a great book I'm reading right now. In fact, I had to put it down because the mirror is getting a little too woo. And I don't know if you've heard about it, but Gabby Bernstein has a new book called
Judgment Detox.
Man, it's a butt kicker. When I talk about
perfect
moments, first of all, I love the reason I can read this book is because Gabby is very transparent to go, I'm a spiritual leader and I don't know how I wrote this book because I judge everything. I love that she's just like, it's why I love Brene Brown when she's like, I know I have a PhD in shame and vulnerability, and I am the last person that I hate being vulnerable, don't know how to live in vulnerability. And so I love people that are very transparent and honest, but it is such a eye-opening, because you think, okay, I get where I judge. But when you really open up access to see the fact that we literally judge everything at every moment, and when you, as she says, witness your judgment without judgment, that sounds great.
Hard to do.
That sounds really awesome. Mm-hmm. But that is really being present in where your judgment is coming from, why you're judging, and not spinning in even more judgment once you recognize that. And it's tough.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It's a tough space, right? When you really open up access to have that awareness to go, oh. And I've done a lot of the, and I literally had to put it away for a couple of days because I'm like, okay, chapter 2 is kicking my butt.
And you know, what I love about leaders and leadership, especially around what Gabby talks about in her book, is it being a leader, being in leadership doesn't mean that you don't have fears and you don't have judgments. It's how we, deal with them, or how you deal with them going forward. I think fear on some level is, everybody has fear, right? You have to have fear in your life. You're standing in front of a lion, and if you don't have fear in your life, you're not going to survive, right?
Well, right, because there's the life-threatening type of fears, and also other fears are good. They are a trigger to step forward.
Right. So being a leader in your life doesn't mean that you necessarily are fearless. It means that you've learned how to deal with your fear and to move past it.
Right.
And I think that's important, because I think people always look at people in leadership as, why can't I be like them? They never fear anything. They never, they're standing up there, and, most people in leadership are petrified before they go on stage. Or, they just,
I use the analogy of a duck, right? Where they look really good on the surface and their legs are doing quick, holy crap moments under the water.
I love that.
At least that's me. I people that are always like, God, Kean, you got your life all together. You got it figured out. I'm like, dude, I'm a duck. That's all I am. Like, I'm a duck.
Oh my God, I'll never forget that now.
Control my upper body and the presence of what I stand in. But man, every time I feel like some awkward 16-year-old that's going to get busted for not knowing what the hell she's talking about.
Okay, now that's real.
Right? Because seriously, who doesn't have the duck moments? That is one of the biggest fears besides, and it's in that space of criticism and judgment. It's everyone's going to find out I'm a big imposter and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right.
Even as we stand in the space to be experts in what we do, there is still a fear that who am I to stand in this space? And I'm telling you, the bigger the space is, and the faster,
the more you go
underwater. And I'm not kidding. I have my really, I look like an awkward 16-year-old sometimes. I'm gonna be 45, and there's times that I'm like, 45 doesn't make sense to me, because I really see myself still as this awkward, space where I'm just like, how? And then I'm like, okay, well, I don't have time for how. I got an opportunity. So you just gotta let the how sit. But man, who doesn't have a duck moment? I'm telling you.
Right. Well, and that's a great analysis for people who are trying to figure out what they want to do in their life, follow their path, maybe take that step out of corporate and start their own business, or do something like that makes sense for them. It would probably help them to know that we've all had that.
And still do. Here's the thing.
Right.
I think they think, because I'm curious, and we're going to just open it up. So, because we still have those moments, and I like to tell people, the bigger the game, the bigger the duck moments. So, right now,
my duck is huge.
Right? They get, and I'm telling you, man, you think you've handled a fear, and then that fear just gets a bigger, and comes and really wants to level you sometimes.
Right.
And so we play in this space, right, where people get hung up, because when you get sucked into the fear, it's that what if space. Mm-hmm. It's that, what if the sky falls? What if I fail? What if I this? What if, and we create this whole story. Versus moving into that big and powerful imagine if, which can get really scary. So I'm curious, Maria, as you start looking at, right now, If you have like the big duck moment that's like, I'm like, man, I'm playing in a big imaginative space and I want to jump into the next pond. But I know that, man, I'm going like, my feet are going.
Right.
What does that look like for you right now? Because we are in it every day. And I think people don't see that from us.
Yeah. I talk to myself a lot. And it's not insanity. I promise you.
Well, there's a fine line.
Right.
I really believe that.
No, you talk to yourself and you say, you've got this. I mean, really, what can you not do? You can do anything that you want to. I'm putting together a masterclass to put a group of people together who want to start a business, a magazine, and I'm putting them together for the first time so everybody can collaborate. That's huge because it helps the success of this business. I mean, most people who are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs would never think, oh, I want to go out and start a magazine. Or I want to go out and start a publishing company. They don't even know that exists.
I want to start a magazine and help everybody else start a magazine.
I know. So so I have those moments all the time, but I also trust that if it comes to you, you can do it. If you can think it, you honestly can do it because there's a reason it came to you.
Absolutely. And isn't that trust that you're talking about right there? Because that is the space. It's do you have faith and trust in whatever your higher power and being is? Because I really believe we weren't given these amazing dreams to think of for someone to go, ha ha, Maria, that's not for you. Nice try, little girl. I mean, It's just not what I think the universe does to us. I don't think if you can dream it, you can, So how do you, because I'm curious as to how you would perceive this, but I feel like that's a muscle that needs constant practice. And so how do you keep working that trust muscle? How do you keep working it when those big duck moments come? Mm-hmm. How do you get back into a mindset and create that practice that allows you to get past it?
So I don't listen to anyone.
Amen.
Because people will constantly tell you you can't. And the more they tell you you can't, the more you know it's the right thing to do. So just don't listen to them. Yeah. Go inside, go into your heart and know that you can. And, you don't have to be out there alone. I think people are so afraid that when they start a business, they have to do it alone. Mm-hmm. And that's part of that fear. And that's part of that listening to other people say, oh, you can't. I had that. What makes you think you can start a magazine? I mean, that's crazy. Look at what Paper's doing. It's all online. By the way, these are all online too. Hard copy and online. So it's the best of both worlds. But people would say that to me all the time. Who are you? And, I think, well, who am I not to do this? I love this.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is fun. This is creative. I get to talk to people. I get to have relationships with them. What's not fun about that? So be very careful about who you or what criticism you allow, I guess, into your mind, into your
And it's
stuff.
the well-intentioned people sometimes that can be the ones that judge us. They're the ones that go, I love you. That's scary. I don't want you to go there. And I love when you say, who are you? I like to be, and I imagine you do the little, because I swear I just have an overgrown 5-year-old that likes to put her hands on her hips and be like,
who am I
I'm
not?
Candy Barone. Who do you think I am? Just like I can hear you going, I'm Maria Ray. Who do you think I am? I think that's a ridiculous question right now. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Really? I think I'm Candy Barone, right? I think I am who I choose to be, and I'm going to put my hands on my hips and declare that.
And this is a great thing, Candy, because no matter what you want to do in your life, does not matter. The people that are closest to you will be the ones to point out everything that could possibly go wrong if you did it.
Yes, because their insecurity and fear is like,
and it's theirs.
The surface. Yes.
Yeah, it's their fears, their judgments. And just think about it this way. Think, just graciously say, well, thank you for your thoughts. I really appreciate that. Don't own it. They're not your thoughts. They're not your fears. They're theirs.
Yes.
And just know that they will never do it, and that's okay.
Yes, and thank you is a complete sentence.
It is.
I tell people all the time, yes, no, and thank you. Complete sentence, no, and happiness them all. And you can say to someone, thank you, that's not for me. Yep. Or you can just say thank you. Because then someone's like, what are you going to do with it? It's like, No, take it as they were giving you a gift. They do love you. It was well-intentioned. And to use another analogy, it's like the ugly Christmas sweater your grandma gave you. It's plugged in the wall so that Rudolph's nose can light up and it sings jingle bells and whatever else. And you're like, oh my God, no. You say thank you with lots of gracious gratitude. And then you give the sweater to a homeless person that needs to be warm for the winter. You can.
Okay, how many have done that?
Right? Or do something else with it. But you're right. You don't need to own it. And I think that's what people think is, but this person loves me. I need to. Take the gift of the gesture of love and concern and say thank you. And then do whatever the hell you want with the gift, because that's not what they get to choose. They were in a space to say, I love you. Appreciate that, own that, have gratitude for that, and know that you can say thank you, close it off, and move on and be like, I don't have to do it. I get to choose.
Well, in that place of, so I believe that we all have an intuitiveness within us. If we would just listen to, our body, or that stomach thing that goes round and round, if you just listen to it, right? Yeah. So it's okay to step back and go, okay, how do I feel about this? This is my decision, my life. I want to do this. What does that look like? And just listen to your stomach in that feeling. And if it feels good to you, then don't listen to everybody else, because what everybody else can do is take away your joy.
Right.
And don't allow them
to be powerful, right? So know the difference between the spinning that's I want to throw up versus the butterflies. So know if it's a vomit or a butterfly
or not.
You tune into that, right? Because we know the stuff that's like, I'm going to throw up if I do this. I'm going to hurl. This doesn't feel right. I can feel every part of my body just coming in and closing up versus, ooh, this scares me, but it's exciting, and the butterflies, because you're wide open and light in that space. And if you really start to get into that intuitive space to know, is this I need a bucket, or is this I need to fly?
Or is this I need a bucket because everybody's telling me something?
Right.
That's another thing,
Someone else's, it's that distinction, right? Oh
yeah.
You and I could play all day.
I know.
Oh my God. We're just getting started. You're so coming back. We need to keep playing in this space. And I know we're starting to get on our time. So before I forget, how can people connect with you if they're like, ooh, I never thought about a magazine being my platform, my vehicle for how I get this vision out? How do they connect with you? How can they play with you?
So you can go to my website, and there's a couple URLs, but the easiest URL to remember is myauthenticlifemagazine.com. Just myauthenticlifemagazine.com. It rolls you right into the website where you'll see it all on my website. Awesome. And you'll be able to see the current issue.
Yay, which is beautiful. They're gorgeous magazines.
Thank you. I'm going to get you on the cover for sure. You're going to be on the cover for sure.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
And then, or my email is maria.mymediagroup@gmail.
Okay.
Yeah. So either one.
Excellent. And I highly encourage, even if you're just wanting to explore, think about such an opportunity to reach. And I have to say, there's some things, even in talking with Maria, and I know she and I've talked many times, I mean, I've known her for a while, is that space of, ooh, and I know we get to play here shortly together live, which I'm super excited. I actually want to think about what that might look like. So you all might just be seeing a You Empowered Strong magazine, or the Powerhouse coming shortly that's in magazine form too. So stay tuned, because I think there's something that might be percolating there as well. And so as we're putting some things out, and I would truly be honored to be, that would be amazing.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God. Just
it's my honor.
I'm not even going to go there, because I'll get very teary-eyed and just emotional thinking about that, because it really is a beautiful space. And but Maria, as we're closing things out, I mean, honestly, we do need to have you back. We could just chat about anything. What's something you'd like to leave the audience with? Maybe a way to bring it all together, or something that we haven't touched on that you're like, I really want to kind of plant this seed and put this in their mind as they're kind of marinating over this conversation and taking things forward.
Sure. So I'm all about living your best life, whatever that is. If you don't know yet, sit and think about it. Because the best thing that we can do to serve others is to live our very, very, very best life. And know that you don't have to do it alone. Whatever that is, there are resources. There are people out there who are always willing to help you. So never fear when you know that it's something that you want to do. Because you have all the help you need.
Yeah, living your best life. And as you know, I mean, that's this entire platform is all about how to say yes to yourself first. And so when you really take that opportunity and give yourself that permission to say yes to yourself, you do destroy the noise that tends to be what gets in your way so that you can stand in that space of leadership. And leadership is not a function of your title, your job, your company, your role, your business. It is simply a choice. It's a choice for you to stand in your gifts and to stand in a space where you can live your best life. So once again, remember that leadership is a choice. It's how you choose to show up. It's how you choose to serve others. And it is how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. I want to give just immense gratitude to my very beautiful and just awesome friend.
No, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. This has been so much fun. I feel like I just had a coffee
I know, right? And I just want to love you so much. And to all of you listening, thank you, thank you, thank you for continuing to join us on this journey. I love you all so deeply, and am sending you heart-to-heart hugs so that you can stand in your light, so that you can live a powerful, purposeful, and passionate imaginative and open up all kinds of possibilities for yourself. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I have so many amazing powerhouses like our guest today, Maria Ray. And once again, thank you. We will see you all next time. Have a magnificent and fantastic day.